this week marked the final flight of the current version of SpaceX's Starship, closing out a major chapter in the story of Starbase. While everyone is excited about what's coming next, this mission, Flight 11, was an impressive highlight, offering the most successful test run we've seen so far. It all began with a reused Super Heavy booster. This booster first launched during Flight 8 back in March 2025. After that mission, it was brought back to the SpaceX factory for cleaning and repairs. Some engines were swapped out, but 24 of the original Raptor engines from Flight 8 were reused for this mission, and they worked flawlessly. At this point, most of us are familiar with how a smooth Starship launch looks, and this one delivered just that. The rocket soared into a clear evening sky, followed by a hot stage separation. Then came the booster's return, which included a new landing test. Like the previous two flights, there was no attempt to catch the booster with the tower this time. Instead, it was brought down over the ocean, allowing engineers to try something different without risking damage. Rather than the usual landing sequence starting with 13 engines, then switching to 3 for the final moments, this time the booster went from 13 engines to 5, and only dropped to 3 right before touchdown. According to SpaceX, this is a trial run for the upcoming booster V3 system. The goal is to save fuel during the landing, so more can be used during launch. While that was happening, the Starship upper stage continued smoothly along a suborbital path around Earth. The main objective was to stay stable and avoid any failures, and the vehicle did exactly that. It remained under control during its coast and gave an impressive demonstration of how the wing flaps work when they don't get damaged during re-entry. About 58 minutes after liftoff, and at roughly 50 kilometers above Earth, Starship performed its first planned banking turn. This maneuver is basically the ship steering mid-air instead of simply falling back in a straight line. It curved along a wide path, which is a key test for future missions where Starship will return to its launch site. For example, when flying back from Mexico to Starbase in Texas, the ship needs to adjust its course gradually. Right before landing, it has to rotate and align itself perfectly with the tower and catch arms. At around 1 hour and 5 minutes into the flight, the ship practiced this final turning move. It rotated about 180 degrees, flipped downward, and fired its engines to slow down. Despite all the twists and changes in direction, the Starship still managed to land right next to a floating camera buoy. It touched down gently, then tipped over and exploded, marking the end of a nearly perfect test. That was the last time we'll ever see a Starship launch like that. With Flight 12, a whole new era begins. The rocket, the booster, even the launch pad, everything will be upgraded. The next version of the Super Heavy booster will not only look different, but it will also be much more powerful. Starting at the bottom, the booster will still use 33 engines, but these will now be the new Raptor V3 models. These engines are stronger, boosting their thrust from 230 tons to 280 tons each. More importantly, their design has been simplified. All the visible wires and pipes you'd see on the Raptor V2 are now built inside the engine itself. This cleaner design doesn't just make the engines easier to build, it should also make them more dependable, since fewer parts are exposed during launch and re-entry. SpaceX has already finished testing the Raptor 3, and the first batch of flight-ready engines is already coming off the production line. The booster itself is also getting longer. This extra length allows for bigger fuel tanks to keep up with the needs of those stronger engines. A huge part of the new fuel system is a large transfer pipe that carries liquid methane from the top of the booster down to the engines. Just to give you an idea of the scale, this transfer pipe is about as big as an entire Falcon 9 rocket. It's like putting a rocket inside another rocket. Now, looking at the top of the Super Heavy, some major changes are easy to spot. Instead of having 4 grid fins like before, the new version will only have 3. These fins are now arranged in a T-shaped pattern. This change seems to be connected to a new design feature. The catch pin for the tower's chopstick arms is now built right into one of the fins. To make that work, SpaceX made the grid fins about 50% bigger and stronger. That extra strength gave them enough confidence to remove one of the fins completely. Elon Musk has always believed in simplifying designs by removing unnecessary parts. So now we'll see if that decision holds up, or if they'll end up adding it back later. Right above the fins is something totally new for the booster, a built-in hot stage system. Since Flight 2, Starship has used hot staging to separate the ship from the booster. This worked well, but it needed a special adapter between the two parts to protect the booster from heat and let the engine exhaust escape. That adapter weighed around 10 tons and had to be discarded into the ocean after every flight, which isn't ideal. Now, the updated booster design replaces the old adapter with a new triangle-shaped frame at the top. This creates more space for exhaust gases to escape. In the center of that structure is a reinforced dome that forms the top of the methane tank. SpaceX has added extra steel layers in certain spots to protect the tank from the heat of the Starship engines during separation. As for the Starship itself, the V3 version will still look a lot like the current model from the outside, but it's getting several major internal upgrades. The older V2 version became known for its reliability problems. Many of them ended in explosions or crashes, but each of those failures helped SpaceX learn more about what needed fixing in the design. Throughout the year, SpaceX has been in a constant cycle of testing, finding issues, fixing them, and testing again. This process has helped them improve with each launch. Flight 10, for example, was mostly a success but still had a serious problem. A blast in the engine section damaged 2 rear flaps before re-entry. Learning from this, the engineers at Starbase have now completely overhauled the fuel system for the upcoming Starship V3. This new version will also use the upgraded Raptor engines, which are expected to be more dependable. With these improvements, the Starship Super Heavy combo will be able to carry between 100 and 150 tons into low Earth orbit. That's about the same lifting power as the Saturn V rocket from the Apollo missions, but with one huge difference. Starship is designed to be fully reusable. Back in the Apollo era, that would have been unthinkable. Speaking of reusability, SpaceX recently shared their most detailed look yet at how in-orbit refueling will work. The outside of the V3 Starship will include new docking ports on the side opposite the heat shield. It seems there will be 2 types of Starship for the system, one designed to send fuel and another to receive it. Once they dock, one ship will transfer liquid fuel to the other, letting it travel farther into space, potentially to the Moon, Mars, or beyond. SpaceX has made it clear that V3 isn't the final version of Starship, but it will be the first one to actually attempt landings on the Moon and Mars. Time will tell how well that goes. Supporting these missions is an upgraded launch and recovery setup, often called Stage 0. Flight 11 will mark the last launch from Tower 1, and also the final use of the current flame diverter system, often jokingly called the upside-down showerhead. The new Tower 2 will use a more traditional flame trench and water cooling system, similar to what's under Falcon 9. Tower 2 itself will be taller and sturdier, though its catch arms, nicknamed chopsticks, will actually be shorter than the original Mechazilla. The reason? Smaller arms are quicker and more stable. When SpaceX built the first set, they didn't have experience catching rockets, so they played it safe and made them big. Turns out they didn't need to be. Now the company is building with better knowledge, which means smarter designs and better performance. All of this signals that the next phase of Starship is going to be full of exciting progress and breakthroughs. So be sure to keep watching. There's a lot more to come.